The UCR Podcast.
Amy Lee of Evanescence has done some cool classic rock things over the years. She recorded an EP of cover songs nearly a decade ago, including her version of tracks by Led Zeppelin and U2. And she also worked with U2 producer Steve Lillywhite on a planned Evanescence album back in 2010. When I first saw the band in 2007, they were a few years removed from their monster album Fallen, which featured huge hits like Bring Me to Life and My Immortal. That night, Evanescence was on a festival bill playing in between Velvet Revolver and the headliner ZZ Top, and they proved that they could more than hold their own in the midst of a bunch of classic rock legends. Now Evanescence has returned unexpectedly this week with their first new music in 4 years, a song called Afterlife that is being featured in the new Netflix animated series Devil May Cry. And as I learned in a short conversation with Amy, they are currently working on a new album with producer Nick Raskulinis, who produced their most recent record, 2021's The Bitter Truth. And Nick has been behind the boards for a lot of legendary albums over the years, including work by Rush, the Foo Fighters, and Alice in Chains. We talk about all of this with Amy, and she shares with us what we can expect from the band's upcoming record. It's Matt Wardlaw, and if this is your first time listening to the podcast, make sure to follow us so that you will get future episodes as they are released. If you dig what you hear, please rate and give us a review wherever you're listening. Here is our conversation with Amy Lee. I've always been a fan of your stuff, but let's start with the new song. Like, what's the story as far as how this whole thing kind of came together?
This was an easy one. It kind of came to me. We're in creative mode right now. We've been touring kind of solidly for the past few years on The Bitter Truth, and it just, the better you do, the more you have to do, you know? It's kind of like, just kept getting cool offers.
It's the devil's bargain.
I know. So I finally had to just be like, okay, no, like I need new music. Like I'm ready. Like we have stuff to say that's just popping out of me. Yeah, like right at the right time, coming towards the end of touring last year. I got reached out to by Netflix and Mako, who started the song, and sounded really cool already. And it's just one of those things where I was like, yeah, I'd love to work on this. And it kind of just was a snowball effect. It started out like, oh, maybe you sing on this thing. Then it was like, maybe this is an Evanescence song. And then it just went. And it turned into something that we're all so excited about. It feels so good to have new music after a while. So good.
Yeah. And I heard this song, and the famous saying, of course, is sometimes when you hear or see something is that they understood the assignment. But as you know, like, it's not necessarily a walk in the park to do stuff for the silver screen, but I think they were probably well matched with you because you've done a good amount of this work before. Like, you were inspired by the medium of film long before that. Like, but it's a certain vibe and a certain zone that's usually required. And this song is very much in that zone for you yourself. Like, when you got brought into this, like, how did you creatively put yourself there to come away with what we're hearing? Because it really just nails it.
For me, like when you have a good start, like when the core is like kind of like, oh, like the rest of it is the fun part. Like you just get to let it run away. Like one thing leads to another, to another, to another. And you just keep having more ideas. I love collaboration. I find that I really make my best. That's why I'm in a band. Like I find that I make my best work when I can go back and forth with somebody else and spitball ideas and hear another perspective and go, oh, whoa. I mean, even half the time it's like you said something in stream of consciousness. They're like, it sounded like you said da 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 da. I'm like, oh yeah, how about that's the line? But like, I think that, you know, it was a really great thing to begin with, but then, you know, to make it a team effort, especially when we're just busting at the seams to be creative right now, and just get in there and rock. And we got to go back in the studio with Nick Raskulinis, who did our last 2 albums, and we have such a great working thing going with him. It was just nothing but fun and exciting. So glad you like it.
What do you love about Nick? Because Nick like just vibes with all sorts of folks, and he does have like a certain thing, and it's like really cool to see when he gets with somebody like your band, like just good things happen.
I think a great producer is a lot of things at once. He's a coach and like counselor, also just a real friend. And I think that, and he's a multi-instrumentalist. I think being a musician in the first place is something that is such an asset in a producer, because they can not only tell you like, oh, this is what's wrong with this, or it needs this and that, but to really show you, be like, oh, how about like, you know, and spell it out or sing it or strum something on the guitar, like just to really be an idea man, to push you in a direction or help it see what could be more about the song. He really gets his hands dirty and gets in there with us all the way. I love working with Nick.
Yeah, and it's cool, like the stuff that you've talked about already to this point. I mean, clearly you all had so much fun working on this song. And it like this song sounds so cool and current, but it also takes me back to things that I loved in the 90s, like television shows like Charmed, of course, The X-Files, movies like The Craft. Like we can
Oh,
also go back
cool.
to we can go back to like the 80s in a movie like The Lost Boys. Like all of that seems to me like things where they were really starting to use music in interesting ways to like amplify the story they were like telling. And I know that you were a fan of like what Danny Elfman was doing. Like, so like, I just know that like, it must mean a lot to like do stuff like this, but like, does this kind of bring out some of that kind of stuff for you getting a chance to kind of work in this medium?
Oh yeah, I love that. Like just for even like a lyrical inspiration I got to watch the entire show unfinished, you know what I mean? Like, and get like a sense of like who the characters are, like what are we getting in the mind of, and like what's actually gonna happen, you know, like just knowing all that, not necessarily saying it on the nose, but like, you know, to live inside a character and put yourself in that place. It's something that I love to do and did dream of doing. And Lost Boys, by the way, is a reference that like the band, like we have used so many times recently, and not just like about the song, but just like inspirational stuff. We all watched it together. It wasn't Halloween night, but it was like right before Halloween on the tour bus. We had a long ride home. That's it. We're watching Lost Boys. We're going back in time. That movie still holds up. Corey Haim is so funny. It's so good. Anyway.
100%. And yeah, I mentioned Danny Elfman separately, and it's like I love that, like, you know, when you were growing up, like you're hearing that music, which was just so unique and out there for the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you took it further. You were like, I feel like I could kind of do what he's doing, but like take it even further musically. Like, so I love that that was one of the seeds for what you ended up doing with the band in a sense.
Yeah. I sing along to everything I love. There's a lot of instrumental music, score music that I have little parts for that would never go anywhere. But, you know, when you feel music in your heart, it just comes out. So it's definitely a dream to get to work with TV and film and music. Like, I kind of feel I'm a choir girl from early days. And I have always felt like since then, there's something really powerful in doing something that is bigger than just yourself and your own vision, because I have one. Like I really have a vision for stuff, and I love making music and I love starting music. But when you have a team of people and everybody's kind of working together, but everybody's in charge of like different parts of it, and it can become something so much bigger than yourself. So I always wanted to sing alto and choir because it wasn't the lead part. It wasn't the sopranos doing the melody that anybody, in my opinion, anybody could sing. It's the harmony. It's all the things weaving in and out and creating a space for all of it to become, you know, one big thing that's bigger than any one person. And I always remember that when I'm working on a film project or something like this, because all of those things, the visual, the music, the sound effect, all of it working together creates something that I could never create all by myself. It's really powerful.
I think it's also important too, because like, you know, there's all these formative elements that like kind of show you that like, okay, it's okay to color outside of the lines, and like film music needs that. It needs kind of like that thing that breaks out of the box.
Yeah. And it's the emotion. It's, you know, there's, there's only so much you can know how to feel from just the words that they're saying. Like there are unspoken things and ways that the feelings can be expressed through just music itself. So it's cool to be a part of the emotion of it.
So this is for Ultimate Classic Rock, and you know your band goes back to the mid '90s, and it's been interesting to see groups that I grew up listening to, you know, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Green Day, and so on, become classic rock. Like it must be similarly interesting for you to see your band kind of start to cross over into that realm, which to me doesn't mean that the band isn't still relevant. Like it's just that point where you have to realize that your music has now been embraced by multiple generations.
Yeah. It's like a full circle thing, because whereas before, like first time around, a little more than 20 years ago now, you know, there's so much, are we going to make it? Are we going to make it past the first single? Are we going to make it past the first album? Are they going to like me? Are they going to understand this? Are they going to see all the dimensions of us before we disappear? There's this urgent anxiety, you know, of like hoping to survive. But it's also super exciting, you know, for us, you know, because it was happening, you know. But then to have stuck around throughout that time and written more music and done more albums and been around the world a lot of times and met all these people and have it, had a chance to grow and ripen and just become layered and deeper and more storied. Now we're at a point where when we make new music, it's especially powerful because when we go out on the road and we do our thing that we do, I feel like we have the power of here's something new, here's something that we're more excited about than anything right now. But at the same time, we're still that Bring Me to Life band. We still got nostalgia with you. So we're going to go through this with all of that, with us on our back, so it's cool because we're at a point now where there isn't like a fear. We did it. Now it's just fun. Now we can just keep making music, and have it sort of just mean more.
Well, on the solo side of things, almost a decade ago, you put out an EP called Recover Volume 1, and I love your version of Going to California that's on that. What do you appreciate about Led Zeppelin?
Thank you. The voice. It's a lot of things. That kind of music puts me in some kind of way. Like, it's hard to explain. It's free. It feels free. And it feels like it's from a time where you had to fight to break free, which I think we're relating to now. But also, I loved Janis Joplin a lot growing up. And those vocals are similar to me. Like, there's something just in the primal release. And that melody is so fun to sing. That interestingly enough, my manager is a classical guitar player, and he was like, check out this like guitar thing I did of Going to California. I was like, I'm going to sing on that. He's like, really?
You have like these cool kind of like happenstance things, and that happens with a band and with an artist, like things kind of like come into your world. Like you mentioned at the head of this whole thing, like Netflix reaching out to you, but it's just like what you were just saying about like your, manager person having that classical guitar part and you going, I'm going to sing on this. Like another song that was on that EP, you covered U2. And I know that like prior to that, you had a chance to work with Steve Lillywhite. And I know that whole album was, it did not come out, as far as being released the way you would have liked. But as far as Steve, I do love that he calls your label at the time. You speak about things that just happened. He calls your label at the time and says, can you put me in touch with Amy? Like, I'd like to work with her. So I just wondered, like, what was the experience of working with Steve?
That's the coolest. Oh, Steve is such a sweet guy. I'm sorry that didn't work out the way we thought. But, the songs that survived, almost all of them found a home somewhere. What we were doing was good, but I was in a transitional moment where I was still like kind of refinding myself between albums and going, what is this? Is this solo? Is this Evanescence? Is this whatever? And as hell-bent as I was on jamming it through my way at that time, songs like Yeah Right, they didn't come out till 10 years later on our last album. It's just, I'm really grateful that it waited, because it was something that was ahead of its time that I wasn't quite ready for. And I do like Steve a lot. We were in there in a moment that I was trying to make a very different record than I think he was trying to make. And it was just all like, just confused. But it was still a good experience. And the funniest thing that I named that thing Recover Volume 1, because now it's like, I have to do a Volume 2, and there just never seems to be time for it.
Yeah, 100%.
I was like, what the hell? Where's Volume 2? It's been like 15 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's where I'm going to wrap, and that just is like you talked about like how you all are in creative mode right now. Like, what can you tell us about kind of the other new music that's taking shape?
I have quite a few things going on right now. We're working on our new album, and I don't know if I've ever had so many songs like in progress at the same time, which is weird, but I think part of being a mom helped me learn how to multitask and not be afraid of it. I used to feel like I had to finish one thing and I can't think about anything else until I finish this one thing. I have to finish my thought. And now, like, all that's out the window. I don't have time to finish a sentence. Like, you better just roll with it. So when I get an idea, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. It's like, well, my heart wants to work on this, so that's what I'm going to do. And for some reason, I'm finding like mega productivity in that, because instead of forcing myself to do something that's like I'm not maybe really in the mood to do right now, it's like you're just following the muse. So we got a lot of songs happening. I have a couple different side things that are coming soon that you'll know soon enough. So I'm I am taking this moment and pouring myself into music, and it feels really good.
Well, fantastic, Amy. I'll let you run on, but thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
For it. See ya.
There you have it. Another episode of the UCR podcast is in the books. I am Matt Wardlaw. Thank you so much to all of you for listening. Please make sure to follow this podcast if you haven't, so you will get future episodes as they're released. And we'd appreciate it also if you would rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening. Look, we are all music fans, so if you enjoyed this, you can find a lot more at ultimateclassicrock.com, and we'll see you there.